Unfiltered, a Philadelphia radio show, that he thinks the right landing spot for LeBron James is Cleveland. Barkley said, quote, if he goes to Philly, people are going to say he's ring chasing to catch Michael. If he goes to Golden State, they'll say he's ring chasing. If he goes to the Cavaliers, because that's his home, he grew up there, that team lacks leadership, and LeBron is a great leader. It will be a fitting place for him to finish his career, unquote. Pablo, does Charles Barkley make a convincing case that Cleveland is the right spot for LeBron?
The case he's making that I co-sign is that this is largely a conversation, a decision around what is the story LeBron wants to tell. He's looking for his finale, Tony, and as a former magazine writer, you know a three-act structure should hopefully have some satisfying denouement. And so the question is Philly, which hasn't won a title since '83, is that more satisfying than ending it in the one place in America that plausibly considers you actually their own? And so if Charles is saying that only Cleveland offers that, I would agree. But more interesting basketball-wise would be the Sixers to me. I just don't think it's a basketball decision. I think it's probably a PR narrative one.
Okay, so I find it fabulous that Charles is talking about ring chasing and LeBron. Let me make this clear. That is exactly what LeBron is doing. He is ring chasing. Wherever he lands, he is ring chasing. That's why he's still in the league at 41. That's why he's not with the Lakers, because he knows they have no chance, even with him on that team. So, I mean, we have to make that clear. And by the way, I agree with that, because it's the only way he can be on the same level as Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has 6 championships. LeBron has 4. Kobe had 5. Magic has 5. Kareem had 6. This is what LeBron has to do. And by the way, there's 20 to 25 teams in the NBA that would say to LeBron, come here and we can win. Minnesota's entire pitch is come here and we can win. And if he wins at Golden State, if he wins at Philadelphia, it's going to be because he's there. Because, you know, Pablo, you know this? They didn't win this year. They didn't win last year. They didn't win the year before. So it will be LeBron. It will be LeBron.
I just like that the Knicks did this to the brains of the NBA. The Knicks won the title, and suddenly no one knows what they're doing. They're doing podcasts with their agent with a whiteboard in the background of Max Kellerman. But I want to move now.
No nibbles for my show-worn Spanx. None. 0. I don't need $1 million.
That is a disturbing
a couple of $100,000
image.
A couple of $100,000, or a Finsky. If somebody offered me a Finsky, you could have it.
Bring that to
PCI, boys and girls. Wilbon's still recovering from his BBL, so I'm joined by our great friend from the podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, Mr. Pablo Torre. And we begin today with an NBA trade that appeared to be done, but apparently isn't. The Clippers' trade of Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors is on hold until the conclusion of the NBA's investigation into whether the Clippers circumvented the salary cap with a no-show endorsement deal from Aspiration. Pablo, you uncovered the original story on your podcast. You won a Pulitzer Prize for it. What do you make of this development?
It has been 10 months since my first episode dropped, 10 months since the NBA decided to follow up with their own. We await their findings, and in the process, it has now taken 9 days conservatively for the NBA, apparently to inform these teams, who then announced it, that this thing can't be completed. And so my question fundamentally is this: why did it take 9 days, after lots of conversation, for this news to break? How does that happen? It's very confusing. It's very embarrassing, I would say, for everybody involved to go through with this whole series of announcements only to say, actually, we can't quite go through with this yet. And so what I'm saying, by the way, for my behalf, is that we've obtained a whistleblower complaint submitted under penalty of perjury to the federal government back in 2023 that identifies this whole thing as salary cap circumvention for the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. That was the whole document that kicked off the federal investigation, Tony. So there's that. Yeah. We have documents showing money in, money out from the Clippers co-owner Dennis Wong. 9 days before Aspiration paid Kawhi Leonard, after they were 3 months late in paying him. There's so much here, obviously. It's been a lot to process, but 9 days is the lead here. Why are we learning about this now? Because I don't know, and I have questions.
So I have a couple of questions for you. The first one is, I thought this was a done deal. I thought they shipped him out of the country. You know, we went to Toronto, everybody was happy, and this was done. Do you think that there will, at the end of this investigation, do you think there will be any punishment for Kawhi and or the Clippers?
According to my reporting, it would be absurd if there wasn't. but that is according to independent journalism. The question here, the backstage proceedings, have to do with, was there a question? Was there a change in the question around how are we messaging this publicly? Or was it a change in terms of the findings of their investigation? And Tony, the NBA hired Wachtell Lipton. This is one of the greatest white shoe law firms in this country. And so they have all the resources. They got the billable hours that I do not. They have all of the ways to find out information. I am showing over 10 months and 11 episodes. It's there to be found. I just don't know if they want to bring it to the public, and I hope they do. That is my personal wish and belief.
We move now to a Summer League basketball game tonight in Las Vegas that doesn't count for anything official, or does it? This game will feature the #1 pick in the draft, A.J. Debinsa, now a Washington Wizard, against the #2 pick in the draft, Darren Peterson, now on the Utah Jazz. Pablo, are you very curious, somewhat curious, or not curious at all about this game?
We did this show yesterday together before trade news and so forth and happened, all that. Ryan Windhorst sold me a car and I bought it on the lot. This Darren Peterson kid, the way he described what's surprising about him, 3-level scorer, a guy who was underestimated, now shows up at Summer League, and I know Summer League is a place where all sorts of players come and go like mirages in the desert.
Yeah.
But Darren Peterson seems like he's not a lemon. And so I'm interested in that kid, and Debinsa obviously is a great measuring stick for him. So, yeah, I like Peterson.
Yeah, so my general philosophy about Summer League is that it counts for absolutely nothing. Most of the players you will see in Summer League are never going to play in the NBA. I mean, Summer League is about a vacation, and Summer League is about a television opportunity. But because of where I live in Washington, D.C., and because I know that the Wizards and the Utah Jazz have spent the last 2 to 3 years tanking every single time they can to get players like this, the potential for this having an enormous sort of impact is right there for somebody like me. As you say, Peterson has already shown what he can do. There's one game, 25 points, 12 assists in 28 minutes, and that's a game that screams to the NBA, I'm ready to go right now. Debinsa hasn't played at all yet. The Wizards have spent the last 10 years being awful and getting everything wrong. If Peterson were to really outshine Debinsa, there's going to be a lot of people walking down K Street in the morning saying, we picked the wrong guy. I think the pressure here is all on Debinsa. They played in high school and college, one game each. Peterson's team won both those games. Debinsa scored, I believe, 45 points against Peterson's team in high school. Peterson had 61 against the other guy's team. So
the upset,
I got to say,
the biggest upset is that you just went over the bell on Summer League. Can the historian of record please note this? Tony Kornheiser over the bell on NBA Summer League. That's what just happened.
I'll get back into the rhythm of it. Let's stay with the NBA and something Charles Barkley said on...
To the Christian Pulisic health update. Because The Athletic reports that Pulisic suffered a bone bruise and a microfracture in his lower right leg, Tony. This coming in Monday night's loss to Belgium. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. And several soccer analysts, as we've covered, have publicly questioned his toughness in the last few days. So should this news mitigate the Christian Pulisic criticism?
Well, I think it will certainly give Carly Lloyd and Landon Donovan something to ruminate over. Carly Lloyd was upset with the fact that after the game, after the Belgian game, Pulisic said, well, I'll have some time to rest. Her direct quote was, you can rest when your career is over. Yeah. Right. And then today she said, I have nobody to apologize to. So she's sort of kind of doubling down. Landon Donovan said that he shows up in easy games. He doesn't show up in hard games. And the quote was, it's more than just a trend now. I saw a long interview with Landon Donovan where he said, that if you ask anything of Christian Pulisic, you get a no from his people all the time. You get a hard no. His quote is, people are fed up with the way that things are handled around Pulisic. And he even suggested Pulisic could be booed the next time the men's national team plays. So I don't think a microfracture is going to take that away. I think you still have to focus on no goals. 4 games, no goals. This is Wonder Boy. He's supposed to be the revolution in soccer in America. So even legitimate injury, I'm not sure that people haven't made their minds up already. Pablo, he's got 4 more years till the next one. How's he going to change that in 4 years?
I do think that a through line in this whole A block has been public relations. And the question I have is, why did you guys wait so long to even begin to signal that actually there might be a really serious thing? Because A, this whole conversation being shaped by the question of was he really hurt at all, you could have helped nip that one in the bud, and that would have helped some. But the larger question that you're referring to with Donovan, and I listened to that same interview, he's calling Pulisic a diva, a guy who has people around him that's not helping his own best interests. And that, look, you've covered, let's call them unsavory personalities in your time in sports journalism. You know that it's not just one thing. It is multiple things forming a psychology. And the question for Pulisic is, who's helping you? It seems like he needs some of it.
Sports psychologists are out there. They help. Let's take a break. Coming up, will anyone ever win as many games as Justin Verlander has? We're going to ask Jeff Passan.
We'll also ask him what the Tigers are likely to do about Tarek Skubal wanting them to be a buyer at the deadline.
For people who pay attention to this show, we just did 4 stories in the A block, kids. 4 stories. Come on now. That's big time effort on a Thursday.
I have 40 missed calls about this Kawhi thing. Yeah, this is...
Wow. Senior baseball insider Jeff Passan, let us start with this. Justin Verlander is going to retire at the end of the season. He's got 266 wins, the most of anybody out there right now pitching. Is baseball at all concerned that no one could ever get close to that number again?
There's a little bit of concern just because the 300 win club is one of those markers like the 500 home run club used to be, but the game evolves, Tony, and it is evolving to the place where we are never going to see a 300 game winner again. I say that with a fair bit of confidence, actually, because if you look at the numbers, right now there are only 2 pitchers who have more than 200 wins, and that's Justin Verlander, who's retiring, and Max Scherzer, who is probably going to retire as well. If you look at pitchers with just 100 wins, there are only 17 of them, and none of them is younger than 30 years old. The most wins for a player under 30 years old in Major League Baseball right now is Logan Webb, who's 29 and has 75 wins. The second most wins belongs to Tarek Skubal, who's got 59 and is 29 years old. And look, the game has evolved away from the idea that the pitcher win is the defining statistic for them, but it's also sad because it exemplifies how baseball has gotten away from guys going 7, 8, 9 innings and earning those wins, and just more emphasis on relief than there's ever been before.
You mentioned Skubal, Jeff. I want to swing the camera over to Detroit because Detroit is 4 games out of the last wild card spot. They've won 7 of 8, though, and Skubal's an offending free agent, and he's saying, I want you guys to buy at the deadline. So how do you see that plea playing out?
Pablo, it's not just that Tarek Skubal wants to stick around and finish what he started, but I think he understands that if the Tigers are selling, it's not just him, it's Casey Mize as well. Like, there's real incentive for them to have a reboot via a couple of trades, but they also understand they're playing good baseball finally. The American League is a complete wasteland, and you're probably going to have a 500 team making the playoffs. And even more than that, the Tigers, before the trade deadline on August 3rd, are going to have series against the Angels, against the Royals, and against the Orioles and A's. Those are 4 of the worst teams in the American League at this point. So winning 7 of 8 the way they have is an awfully good start, but they have to continue this and convince Scott Harris, the president of baseball operations in Detroit, that this is something that's worth holding on to and that they really do feel like they could go out and win the American League.
So other financial decision-making now taking us to the NL West. The Dodgers, they gave $240 million over 4 years to Kyle Tucker. Not great that his batting average is approximately what he's getting paid. It's $249, in fairness to him. 7 home runs, reading that off the paper. Is there concern from the Dodgers over the amount of investment they put into him?
I think it's less concern over the investment and more just about the production, because Kyle Tucker has not had stretches like this in the past. And it's not as if the Dodgers brought him in to be the guy. Like, they have the guy. His name is Shohei Ohtani. And they have another guy, and his name is Mookie Betts, and another guy named Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and another guy named Freddie Freeman. Yeah. And we can go on about all the guys they have. They just wanted Kyle Tucker to blend into the background and do what he's done throughout his whole career, which is be productive. And we haven't seen a whole lot of productivity at this point. And Alden Gonzalez on ESPN.com, I think, did a really good story looking into the reasons behind Kyle Tucker's struggles. And some of it is timing. His swing looks off, but he is putting in work. And that's something that's been a criticism of him in the past. And I think as much as the Dodgers are concerned, Kyle Tucker himself is even more concerned that he's just not living up to this mega contract that he got.
We will get you out of here on this. We're going to go back to pitchers. Blue Jays manager John Schneider left Dylan Cease the other night to go for a no-hitter, saying, quote, "I'm a fan of baseball. I think if a guy has a chance to throw a no-hitter, you let him do it." Now, Cease didn't get it, but why don't more managers have that kind of spirit that Schneider has?
I wish they did, because no-hitters are awesome and perfect games are even better. And Yuri Perez just last week, young guy, number one, coming off of Tommy John surgery as well. So they're trying to limit things. He's been hurt in the past. He's been hurt this year, and they yanked him after 7 perfect innings. And I'm sitting there, pulling my hair out. Like, come on. We've only seen 24 of these throughout the course of baseball history. Are you really going to interrupt that? But frankly, managers these days, Tony, they're just taking their calls from the front office. And front offices are terrified by injuries. And I give John Schneider a lot of credit, because he has the pulse of that clubhouse. And I think he understands that what a no-hitter from Dylan Cease could have done for that team going forward would have actually been pretty powerful for a team that needs it. But I'm with you. More no-hitters, more perfect games, more opportunities, please, just because it's a good thing for baseball.
Thank you so much for being with us, Jeff. Thank you.
Yes.
Pleasure's always mine, guys. Thanks.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, Coco Gauff's bid to make the Wimbledon finals comes up short.
And more bad luck for Connor Bedard.
Don't we mention podcasts on this show? Doesn't Jeff